Frankie, could you do our invocation?
So I'll stand. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this beautiful day that you have blessed us with, for the rain that you have sent our way. And we ask you, Lord, to guide and direct these meetings and the decisions that we make. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call.
Sir, Dick Light,
Here.
Harley Moser,
Here.
Jack Baker,
Here.
Joe Bird,
Honey.
Julia Coates, Jody Fishinghawk, Janelle Fulbright,
Present.
Don Garvin, Frankie Hargis,
Present.
China Gore Jordan, Lee Keener,
Honey.
Curtis Snell,
Here.
Denise Taylor, here, David Thornton,
Honey.
Victoria Bisquez, David Walkingstick,
Honey.
Kara Cowan Watts. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for approval of minutes.
I make a motion to be approved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. On reports, Marcia Land.
Good afternoon, council.
Afternoon.
Don't have very much. I do want to tell Lee and Kara that the new advocate should be in the field now working now. I can't think of his last name, but his first name is Levi. And I can get that information to you, but he's out of, he'll be covering Claremore.
Thank you.
And the last one is in training, so that should be all of them. Just as a reminder, we are making arrangements for our next veterans trip, and we're having trouble getting World War II, and that's probably because we're losing so many of them. So we're gonna look at Korea too, so if you have any that age group, be sure and refer them to us, and and get them honored. That's the first step for them to be there. The Veterans Memorial Day service will be Friday, the 22nd. So if you're in the area, please come over and join us. And we're working with administration on a elder summit, 18th. And all those, that's in the works, so I don't have too much information on it, but that'll be where we have all the elder services all in one area for them to apply for. That's all I have.
Kara, please.
I'm sorry, did you say my name?
Yes, I did.
I didn't understand, thank you. Marcia, I think, I haven't checked any on your ask registration, but I believe Lanto brother, the Lanto Fields in Claremore, Oklahoma, the football field, and they just had the big reception for him, and I think, Lee, you were able to attend, right? So.
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay, so Mr. Lanto was in World War, L-A-N-T-O-W, I think he's a World War II veteran, and I believe he's a Cherokee Nation citizen, and he lost all his brothers, and they brought him home. He has a really unique story.
Has he been honored by the
But I
council?
think he lives in Tulsa. To my knowledge, he has not been was not on that trip, because it was just last year's trip, and he wasn't on that.
No, has he been honored by the council? That's
No.
the first step.
No.
Yeah. So we need to get that information to the family.
I know there were changes unexpectedly for reasons that were horrible, actually, but could you someone resend to the entire council the appropriate
Sure.
means of how we communicate the veterans? And then if we could bump the World War II veterans to the front, that would be helpful, because I thought I'd submitted some that weren't recognized still.
They have priority as far as our trip goes.
Okay, so if they have to be recognized by the council first,
Yes.
or by the deputy chief, or with a process, then they need to be, so, can you remind them of who that
Oh,
appropriate
I see
person
what you're saying.
is?
Let them be honored first.
We need to get them
Okay.
through the pipeline, and I would assume I'm not the only council person that probably knows these people out in the community, and if we could probably help identify them if we had
Okay.
communication our way. So,
Okay.
Curtis?
Marcia,
I have
All right.
additional questions.
to have Jerry Snell to come next meeting, and we're gonna discuss the headstones for some of the cemeteries.
I will tell him. I will tell him.
Tell him to get his homework done when he comes.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
And I've got Harley and Ms. Watts, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I had several questions actually still, sorry.
Harley, can you go ahead and?
Yes, okay. Thank you, Marcia. And I know what Marcia's saying is true, because I submitted 2 or 3 names, and these are World War II veterans, and they're either, you know, can't go, or they don't want to leave their families and stuff like that. But, yeah, we're losing them every day. There's not going to be none left here for too long. So I appreciate all the efforts that you're making. The other thing is when is the date? Have you set a date on that trip to DC yet?
No, it'll be in September,
Oh, it'll be in September. Okay.
about the same time
Okay.
as last year. That seemed to be a good time, not too cold, not too
Okay.
hot.
And the other thing, I guess we're out looking for a replacement for Dr. Robinson over to the vet center now.
We're actually, all the administrative staff is covering
Okay.
that. And, it may be a while before we advertise it because we're going to reevaluate what we really need over there. But yeah, we will fill it. you know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And Ms. Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you are gonna follow up with at least, I guess, probably Janice too, because we've got Rogers County and, Councilman Lay, Councilwoman Taylor and Councilman Lay on the, because you read my mind, I had elder advocate question mark down here.
Okay.
So his name, what offices he'll be at, those days and hours, and the phone number. When are we considering, I tried to look through the report again, I wasn't quite sure what our utilization of the Collinsville food program was. Are we considering expanding hours? Because I get asked about that a lot. I think you get that question too, so.
We can certainly look at it.
Could you do a report for us to see if it justifies expanding hours?
I'm sure, the, people that come in there are justifiable enough, cause it road, it's always on funding, because when you have to have somebody there every day cooking and every day staff on board and everything, it's, that's a very small funding, so considering what it does, so we can look at it.
Could we get a breakdown of where those folks are driving from? Because I don't know if Councilman Lay is affected by this. I think
I don't know if we
Councilwoman
keep
Taylor's
a
will probably
record,
go to
but we can look at it.
Salina, so.
Okay.
And then the other 2 questions I had was about tribal burial assistance. One of them was, and the other was elders in need. So it's all on what's page 13 for us in the report. So at the top it says burial assistance, it says client serviced, and it says 3 are social services burials, 20 are tribal funded burials, and 15 are over income tribal burials.
Mhm.
So would you just briefly explain to me the differences between those again?
Which one? All of them?
So if I come in, what does that mean, social services burial versus a tribal funded burial versus an over income tribal burial? Cause I get people constantly saying they've been denied based on income for tribal burials.
I don't know what, let me look at it. Can I send you something?
That would be great. I don't know if anybody else is curious about it, but I mean, I have folks that say they're denied, and then when I was reading this, it dawned on me, this no longer makes sense if they're
There-
being denied and we're.
I don't know if I'm explaining this exactly right, but that over income there, I believe it's 10% over income. We can help so many, but let me make sure before I really
Okay, no,
am 99% sure.
that's great, because people ask questions and I wanna give them facts. So, on the bottom of that same page, it says, so if I read it correctly, we have served $234 in the elders in need. And this is the subsidized LIHEAP money, is that correct?
Well,
The
I guess you can
$200?
look at it like that, it's just we had to have a base that it's the same age group, so, and same income guidelines, so we use that, but as soon as anyone turns 60, we put them on. You know, we let them know that, yeah, they're eligible
So-
if they meet the qualification.
So we no longer have that middle part. There was something where there was some kind of bridge. I think we all understood the LIHEAP income requirements.
Yeah,
But then there was something else we did at one point where we bumped it up and said, well, maybe we make $10 over, we're still gonna include you, but we're gonna, but that, I don't see that
we've bumped up
anywhere.
the age several times. If that, we started with one age group and we decided, no, that's not covering it, so we,
Or lowered the age.
yes,
then?
we lowered the age.
Would you give me the requirements on this again so I understand it? Because when I was reading it, I thought there was another group that may not qualify for LIHEAP, but we were still giving the elders a need to. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your patience. Marcia, thanks for all the.
Harley, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got a comment, and I had looked at the same chart, Marcia, over the burial services, and I guess my question would be, who determines who gets over income?
It'd be income based.
Yes, it's like over income tribal burial. I'd like to see the guidelines on that, and I'd like to know who decides who gets it, you know. That's, I wasn't aware that we had that program in effect. So, just like a
I'll
little
just send it to everybody, so
explanation.
in
Okay,
case they have a
that'll work.
question.
Thank you.
Speaker?
That was what I was just gonna ask. It'd probably be a good time for all the council to have policies pertaining to those programs that have just been asked about.
Okay.
And I would like to have them. I think I know what the policies are. After 7 years, they haven't really changed that much, other than the new program that came on for elders. We probably are all aware, but it would be a good idea for all of us to get it again, see if any of our folks might qualify for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stick?
Is that a tribal policy or is that a federal policy, the income guidelines on this, what this program everyone's talking about? Is this tribal or federal?
Are you talking about, the elders program is tribal. The burial program is broke up between BIA and tribal. It's a combination.
Oh, is it? Now, is our tribal policy the same as the federal policy as far as the income guidelines?
On the burial, it would have to be because we have contracted services. So that's what we did to make a contract service. We combined our BIA requirements with our tribal, which is basically the same thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Marcia, on the No Water Nutrition Center and the elders' meals,
Mm-hmm.
as you know, we do 3 days a week at
Mhm.
No Water. We've asked for 5, and we've also asked for some help for the cook. Is that a funding thing, and should that be taken up by this council towards the end of the year?
Always.
And of course, the after hours that
Yeah.
we've asked about.
And I heard you really have a good cook up there.
Everybody likes it, so. Yeah. Anyone else? All right, ma'am. And I don't see Ron Qualls, who's gonna speak for him today. Michael Litt.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Council.
Afternoon.
Mr. Qualls is in Phoenix, Arizona this week at the NAIHC conference, and I believe you all have copies of the reports for community services, and be glad to try to answer any questions. There's some department heads back in the audience here that can probably may need to call up to help.
Speak.
Maybe, who else is back there? David? We asked last month for rehab to be broke down the same way as water and sanitation by name and district. Did we not get that done?
No, ma'am, we're still working on it. We're having to make some more site visits to do the GPS coordinates on it. Ours is gonna be a pretty good list.
You can't give us what you have and then add to every month, because we expect it to be an ongoing.
Yeah, I can submit it.
Okay. And when might you submit it to us?
I can try to get it this afternoon.
Okay. Give us what you have by district, so you all know what work's being done or contemplated within your district. And then, David, if you could just add to it monthly, that's really what we're just wanting it to
Okay.
become a monthly report.
Yeah, we tried to complete the whole deals, but we'll get it.
Okay. And then I have one I'll just talk to you about offline.
Okay.
Ms. Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate you both being here today. So, look, and was it water and sanitation, and it's not, it's E, S, and D? It's like a complete list of folks. Is that sanitation? I was trying to remember. I thought I was going today yet.
Page 19 and 20.
Yep, yes, thank you, Frankie. So it's like the long list starts on page 20, so I guess that's water and sanitation, which is good, right?
I believe Chris Sanders is here.
Okay, so Chris, thank you. Well, no, you're not done, because, so what was interesting was, I worked through I'm looking at it, and it appears that people that got housing rehab or a replacement home or a new home also got water and sanitation. Is that how we're packaging it? Does everybody have the same access?
Some do. Some get water and sanitation too.
How do some people get it, but not all people get it?
Not all of them apply.
Help me understand. What is it?
Not all of them apply for it, or in need of it.
Yeah, not all. Most of them don't need it. Most of our replacement homes, the utilities are there.
Okay. I think the one particular that caught my attention was a new home construction. So is everyone informed that they have the opportunity to do this? Or only some people are informed? Because I would find, if I recall correctly, water and sanitation has no income requirements. I was trying to figure this all out, because how do you guys work together? What's the reality if I'm a customer or?
Usually, if we purchase a site, then we send it through water and sanitation. Or if we have a site that there's no utilities on, then we send it.
David, that's for rehab, right?
Right.
So, where's Gary? Who's representing housing today? Just one person, I don't even know how they got on new home construction, especially if we had to purchase land. That's what, it doesn't make sense. When I started actually getting details, I started putting it together, I was like, whoa. Because I have people waiting.
Just point of clarification. I'm
Give
assuming,
some clarification.
point of clarification, I'm assuming if you want to talk about an individual on this list, you may want to do it offline if it's an individual that you're fixing to name.
There's no, I haven't named any individual, there's no
Well,
plan to name
what
any
I'm
individual.
trying to say is if there's a specific individual on this list, let's don't speculate out here. You just talk to them offline.
So I'm trying to work through a policy issue and procedures. You're all in one place. If I email, I don't get answers, not necessarily, but, so I'll get answers about certain specifics, but if I ask broader policy issues, I'm sure you're under duress, you can't answer. So, I'm confused and would like to better understand the policies around this and the procedure on what really happens. If it's a rehab versus new home construction, and how water and sanitation is done or not done, and those kind of things. Because we were able to work through some others once I got a policy on misperceptions about how they got replacement homes versus did get, how good people are treated differently. So if it's clear and it's in writing and I understand what that is, then I can communicate that to folks. That's what I'm looking for, if that makes sense at all. Thank you very much, I appreciate the time.
And for my walking stick. Yes, sir.
On the, on our jobs for emergency rehab and all that, could you guys make us some like recommendations for the Terrell law, to the council so that we can resolve through all the jobs and just get them knocked out? That's what I'd like to see. If we have to change some Terrell wording or something, maybe if we get majority on this council, we could maybe make life easier, because I don't work in your department, and you know as good as anyone else on this council on how to make your job run smoothly and to get a lot done. And the Terrell is holding us up, but if we could kind of work through some of that, we might be able to get a lot of people served. And, you probably already know the answer. I ran into one of your workers at Lowe's and asked him, and he was like, well, give me some more time in the department and I'll come up with something. You know, you may already have the answer, and it may not be politically correct, but we just need to get the job done.
Yeah, we need more Terrell contractors.
Okay, so that's an issue there. So that's not gonna happen for a long time. So like, if we're just gonna do something now, what would be the resolution?
I'm not sure. We've tried meetings to get more Terrell contractors. We've kind of got the Willard could probably answer this better than I could. We've kind of got the non-Terrell vendors to where they won't bid anymore, because they have to bid twice for us to award to them. Have to be under our estimate. And most of them just don't bid anymore because of all the Terrell vendors. You know, there's quite a few Terrell vendors. We've kind of kept them from bidding. I really don't know what the answer is.
Do we need our budget come up here in October? Do we get staff and they go do the job, or?
We could. That's one option. It costs more to complete it with staff than it does with contract, because of all the indirect costs of the, the benefits and stuff. But
Could we decrease the bidding, like instead of twice, have them bid once?
where that would be a Terrell.
Willard? Yes. Are you aware of the emergency rehab and
Yes,
the jobs and, okay. I don't wanna take away from Terrell, but I've talked to a lot of full-blood Cherokees, and they don't care if an Asian's building their house or the roof, or a black guy or Mexican or whatever. They just want the job done. And we've talked about this for 8 months to a year now, and we've talked about it last month. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. We don't want to take away from Terrell, but we need to make some amendments somehow so we get these houses knocked out. And whether it be a decrease in bidding processes for the non-Terrell, or I don't know. This is your department. Like I said, I'm not in there every day to see how this thing can go, but we have trust and confidence in you that you can get this thing trucking.
If I may,
Yeah.
right now, I will say this about all the entities that are represented here. Each one of these departments work very well with Terrell. They try to operate the best they can with Terrell under the existing law. So it would be a matter of changing the law, which this entity is capable of doing. So,
Is it a one-size-fits-all, or can we accommodate Terrell for this department and accommodate Terrell for this department? Or is it just
if you
one-size-fits-all?
get into that, it's gonna become very confusing to the contractors when they go to bid. I'm not operating under this, under this, under this. So you wanna have one general
Okay.
law that covers a lot of area, because you have businesses, you have entities that bid with housing rehab, housing authority, and water and sanitation.
Is it possible though? I mean, it's difficult, but is it possible?
It's possible that it would be difficult, and it'd make it difficult on your vendors more so than anybody else.
Okay.
And what David was speaking of is, what's happened is over the years, Taro's been so effective, and the Cherokee Nation's been so effective in enforcing Taro, that non-Taro vendors quit bidding on our projects because it did them no good. They weren't gonna get it. It was gonna go to a Taro business.
Sure.
And so they just quit bidding. And now we're getting so busy and, you know, recruitment, we try to recruit, but we can't make them sign under Taro. Wish we could, but we can't. So we don't have the businesses to do work that's out there. And, you know, we just keep getting busier and busier and busier here at the Nation through the different construction projects. You know, we have the Cherokee Plaza, the Hastings, and those are coming up. Those are major projects that are coming up. So, Taro can't go out and recruit non-Taro businesses. I would recommend, as the law sits right now, if they bid twice, and housing, rehab, any of these entities that are here choose to go with a non-Taro vendor, that's fine, but Taro can't recruit those non-Taro vendors.
Yeah.
So that would be up to those departments to do that as the law sits right now. But if the law needs to be changed, that's something this entity here in front of us would have to make the decision of.
Okay. That's good news. Appreciate you, Larry. Thank you. That sounds promising. That we
We're
might
doing
be able
that now.
to.
With the two, and if they bid twice, then we'll award to them. We've
No,
got
I mean, what I'm talking about is, we might be able to, me and Taro, just for your department, where it can accommodate you, and we can get these jobs contracted out and get these jobs completed and knocked out and out of the way. That's all I was thinking of. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, sir. Harley, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I had talked to David a little bit before the meeting, and we talked about the bidding process, and I agree with what Councilor Walkenstick is saying. We do need to move those out faster, because I know David is getting more applications than he's doing jobs per month, but I asked David to check on the laws about putting bids out. He's got an estimated bid of what the house is going to cost. Just put it out there. Let the contractor see what the estimated bid is. I don't know if HUD has a regulation against that, but I do know at one time back in the roads program that ODOT put those bids out. A contractor could go down to the city, walk into ODOT and get a bid for a specific project. We didn't do it, didn't feel like that was the right thing to do, so we didn't do it in the roads, but I don't know what to keep David from putting those estimated bids out there, and it would certainly let a contractor know this is what we're going to pay. And so certainly could be some negotiations over that final bid as it came up, but that may help. The other thing that Councilor Walkenstick talked about is the Taro law. I know how we went over the Taro law, and I'd hate to go back and do it again, but something needs to be done. I think right now, David, correct me if I'm wrong, the non-Taro contractor needs to be 10% under a Taro contractor. Is that the law?
I think so, yeah.
You know, we may want to go back and revise and amend that portion right there to make it 5%. At least it gets them a little closer together.
Willard, could you clarify
If I
something?
may, the law does not, through our purchasing office, through the Cherokee Nation, there is a sliding percentage, and it's based on the dollar amount.
I see.
So, off the top of my head, I don't want to quote those dollar figures because I probably get them wrong. So, but I can get those to you, and like I said, it's a sliding scale based on the dollar amount. So, it's not a percentage. And I want to say for the first 100,000, it's $5,000 is what I want to say, but I may be wrong on that.
Well, if we could have the Leonard, Willard bring that in the next meeting, let's take a look at it. And I don't think it would be such a big deal as go back and just amend that portion of it. Instead of amending the whole Taro law, you know, we can go back and take a look at it. And I think Council Walkenstick is right. We need to give David a little more free hand to get those contractors on board and get these houses out. So That's my recommendation, that we take a look at it again and only look at that portion there. I don't wanna look at the whole Terrell law, that's for sure. But, David, if you will check and see
I will.
if we can put those bids out, then, my recommendation is put them on the board. Let people see what's out there.
I'll check that out, Ricky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And one question I would have is putting the bids on the board, is that legal with our Taylor law the way it's written today? It is. So it could already be done.
It would be legal. It's not putting the bids necessarily, it's putting the estimate.
Estimates, right.
And I understand what Council Brother is talking about, because you have a estimated cost on the project, and if you know it's gonna be $10,000, and you put it out there that our estimated cost is $10,000, well, your vendors know that if they bid over $10,000, they're not gonna get it, because they're higher than our estimated cost. So therefore, your bids are all gonna be below 10,000, and as a vendor, you have to decide, okay, how far below 10,000 can I go and still get this? Because they're gonna go with the lowest, so it creates a little more competition.
And so that can already be done.
Through the Terrell law, yes, it's
Yes,
a
it
question
can.
of through HUD, can it?
And yeah, we don't know about it. Somebody's gonna have to figure that one out. I don't, every lawyer but Tanya left the room right then for some reason. And so, she's trapped. And so here's where I'm at on this Taylor law. I would be doggone, have to be tied to the post and the rack and horsewhipped to redo and undo the best Taylor law in Indian country. People come to these guys right here almost weekly, learning about Tayro. We've got the best one. We worked hard on it. And to undo it and unravel it would just be terrible. It's up to these guys who run these departments to figure out a better way to go about their job. That's my opinion. And they can get with the Tayro group, and they can get with career services, and we can find Cherokee and other native citizens to these small jobs. And it's the small jobs we get hung up on. It's the wheelchair ramps, it's the back porches, and so on and so forth. Contractors, Tayro contractors tell me they look at those and they can't make money on them because they're going to run back and forth to town a time or two getting nails, screws, wood, so on and so forth. So they don't even turn it in. That's one reason we don't get it turned in. If we could find a young, hungry Cherokee citizen or 2 or 3 or 14 of them to do those small jobs until they build themselves up to be bigger, I think we could really go to work on getting these small jobs whipped out. Jumping up and saying Tayro's the reason I can't get my job done is not what I'm going to listen to. Thank you. Now then, anybody else got questions? Go ahead, sir.
David, I have a question about, okay, you get a house for rehab. I know what's the one going up right now, it's a rehab house. Okay, they're doing a very good job all through the house, but the ceiling is cracked and you can stand out back and it's got a 18-inch pump in it. The sheetrock is cracked and it's dripping water. And she says, oh, you don't fix the ceiling? Oh, we can't fix that, we don't have that on the contract. Well, what in the world is the use of fixing all that house and leaving it ceiling like this? What I can't understand.
Yeah, I agree. They should do a change order to fix it.
That's gotta be, okay, they write a change order, they've gotta rebid it, that's a totally different contract.
No, they can use the same contractor with the change order. They just do a change order and the contractor does the work.
You said something that happens, does it happen quite often like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it happens pretty regularly on the rehabs.
Well, you know, I've seen it a couple of times where the contractor said, well, that's not on my list. Okay. And,
Yeah, if you'll give me a name after the meeting, I'll.
okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Go ahead, sir.
David, I've got a construction company down there that I think, do y'all come and meet with them if they're not there with our Cherokee and try to get them set up?
Yeah, we can.
You can?
And Terrell will too.
Okay, I've got somebody down there.
Okay.
Y'all need to go meet with them.
Yes.
If you'll give us the name, we'll be glad to go down.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mine's probably more of a comment than a question. There was some comments made previously about qualifying for a new house and qualifying for water and sanitation. They are two different programs, as I understand it. The new housing program has a minimum amount that you need to make in order to qualify for that program. And I believe that magic number is $15,000. So if you make $15,000 and you want to be part of the new housing program, if you have access to land, you probably go to the top of that list. If you don't have access to land, then we're trying to find land in each one of our communities, and I think many of the counselors are trying to help the Housing Authority do that. If they qualify for a new house because they make at least $15,000, they very easily and very conceivably could qualify for water and sanitation too. Is that correct? Because it is not income-based at this time. So they could qualify for a new house, then they could also make application for water and sanitation to go to that new house if the services are not already there because you're maybe replacing a home that's served its useful life. Is that correct? So we don't want to mislead the public and folks on streaming video. A minimum amount that we ask you to make so that we can make sure that you can make your $350 payment. Now, if you need utilities to that new house, that is a separate program which comes through your department. And again, it's not so much, I don't believe it's income based. You go in, you apply. If it's a needed utility, then you may qualify. Okay? I see everybody nodding their head. So there's not anything wrong with using both programs. In fact, where we need to, we try to combine those two programs. Just as if we're rehabbing, don't we take rehab if you qualify for rehab? Then if you also need water and sanitation, you could also make application for that program too, and those two programs would work hand in hand to get you a safe and sanitary and existing housing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understood it because it was a little bit convoluted a few minutes ago. It was like if you qualify for one program, you shouldn't qualify for the other program, and that's not true. We can use multiple programs to get to the end result of giving you good, safe, and sanitary housing, either through existing housing that you have or through a new housing program. Okay, and if you did, let's take it one step further. Let's say you want to do a 184 loan on your own. You may be able to use water and sanitation for that new construction, is that correct? So you could qualify for water and sanitation, but you may be getting your loan from a traditional lender. Okay. I just want to make sure that everybody understands you don't just do one program, there may be multiple programs to get you to your end result. Okay. Thank you.
Time. Janelle.
I have a quick question, thank you. I had been under the impression that water and sanitation was not income-based, but one of my constituents told me that when he went to apply, they said, oh, you can't get it because you make over $45,000. Is there an upper limit on the income that
We
apply?
prioritize by income. The tribal funds, when we run low on the tribal funds, we try to focus those funds on the elderly or disabled. And so with the IHS money, we try to keep the lower income people on the tribal funds and the rest on the Indian Health Service money. It's prioritized by income.
Okay, well, I had a family member, he used to work for the water department, and he had told me that he didn't think it was income-based because y'all had put water, sewer and septic and everything in for some people with some really, really nice homes. When I had this constituent come to me, he was building a very nice home too, and he said, they told me no. So it's just on case by case.
Well, something doesn't sound right. If you could send me that name, I'd be happy to.
Well, I guess he went out there to the housing authority and inquired about it, and they said, you make too much money, you can't get it, so.
They're not housing authority.
Oh,
Well, I don't mean housing authority, he went, well, no, I think that's where he went. Maybe, okay, I'll check on it offline. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Harley?
And just kind of comment on what Councilor Fulbright was talking about. Usually, of course, it's been several years since I worked in water and sanitation, but usually if you have a person that builds a $200,000 home or $250,000 home, they're not going to wait 6 months to get a septic tank. They're going to put it in their budget or do it themselves, and usually it takes care of itself. That's how I found it used to be, but still, they do qualify. But usually, if you're building a $200,000 or $300,000 home, you're not going to wait 6 months to get a septic tank in there. The other thing I want to comment on, Councilor Jordan, I think and correct me, Chris, if I'm wrong, I think the only program that they didn't do water and sanitation for was Title VI homes. Am I right? If it's funded through that type of agency, and they don't qualify for the water and sanitation program, I think that's the only exception to the rule there. 'Cause the rest of them, I think, all qualify for it. But anyway, I think there's some good points brought out for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Mr. Walkenstick?
Clarification, water sanitation's income guidelines is prioritized, it's prioritized by your income?
Yes, with the tribal funds.
Okay.
With the IHS funds, there's no income guidelines at all.
What about the new home construction, is that prioritized income as well?
Usually we use the IHS funds for the new home construction.
Is it prioritized by income?
No.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Denise?
Yes, sir. Okay, I have a question on this chart that lists the chart. At what point do we know that these I mean, it says when you receive the application and when the application was complete. When might the work be done? Or how do we know when the work has been completed?
There should be a milestone in there that we can set to, it should just say construction complete.
Okay, so if they're on this list, they're still waiting?
It's probably, that list is probably still the applications we have outstanding, they're still waiting.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Would it be possible to add one more column to this list and just tell us where they are in the scheme of things? You've got a column that says application received, application complete, but that just means the paperwork's in, right? Okay, so I think what Janice is talking about is another column that says, okay, have they started the work, or when will the work start? When's the work anticipated on being completed? Status, yeah, a status column right here at the, it's gonna mean you have to move everything over a little bit and put another column in here, but could you all do that next month? And I guess, David, I'd have to ask you on that very same thing you're creating for us, which these will be ongoing. Hopefully, we get on status on some of these next month that the work's been completed. And that would be the same thing on yours. We don't want you to drop them off until we've seen that the work has been completed.
Okay.
Okay? I appreciate it on both of you. Thank you very much. And I think that'll help Janice on the question you were asking, Janice.
I believe that's it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. And who's going to speak for Mr. Cooper today? Oh, he did? He's out? Okay. We'll go on to Michael Lind. Michael, you're taking it all today.
Once again, You should have a copy of our reports, excuse me, in your packet. A couple of things I did want to mention. We've got the bridge projects along Kenwood Road still underway. One of those in Mays County, and 4 of those in Delaware County. The weather this month has kind of held them up a little bit because of the rain, and it looks like it's going to be raining for the next week or so anyhow. But they are progressing. The Kenwood, the bridges, and the Delaware County side are progressing at a far more rapid pace than the Mays County bridge. Just different contractor. But anyway, those projects are moving along. They've got two bridges completed and just waiting on the roadway portion to be completed. And then the last 2 bridges are the third bridge is near complete, and then on the 4th bridge they are setting beams, I think, this week, towards the end of this week, and then the deck will be forthcoming after that. So those bridges are underway. We also have an overlay project in southern Muskogee County on Ross Road. That is, I believe, a 12-mile overlay project that's going between I-40 and the town of Porham, and that project is going very smoothly and moving at a very rapid pace since it is just an overlay. And lastly, we'll have the CNI Industrial Access Road in Stillwell, south of Stillwell, starting. I believe they're going to start this week. If not this week, maybe next week due to the rain. But that should be coming up very quickly on that project as well. So, and then lastly, I want to mention we did have what we called a county commissioner orientation on April 30th. I believe it's the same day as your executive finance committee meeting. We discussed that last month during my report. But I did want to report that we did have a good turnout at our orientation meeting. Had about 75 folks present between county commissioners and their assistants, foremen, secretaries, whatever that may be. We went over our processes, how we could work together with them and how they could work together with us. But had a good turnout, and overall it was a very good meeting. So that is my report, Mr. Chair, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. I've got Janelle and then Don.
Okay, thank you. I've got a question. I don't know what the answer would be, but over the weekend we received 12 or 13 inches of rain down in Sequoia County, and our roads are just terrible, and bridges, everything. Are there any kinds of emergency funds that we could tap into to help those commissioners down there?
There are some emergency funds available if there's been a FEMA declaration, and then even beyond that, there's some other things that have to be
Did you say
criteria.
if there has been a FEMA declaration?
If there's been a FEMA declaration, and then there's some other criteria beyond that. If you're talking about road emergency, road work,
Yes.
Road and bridge, it depends on the classification of the road, the functional classification of the road. At this point, but the opportunity is there if the criteria has been met.
Okay, thank you.
Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the Ross Road down near Porham, a couple of things. We need some signage, Cherokee Nation signage. You said you're gonna get that. What about the speed limit and that sort of thing?
Those will all be put in place as the project completes. Yes.
What is the speed limit on that type of road?
Well, I'd have to check to be for sure, but I'm gonna say 45 or 50 probably. Whatever it was before, we probably didn't change the speed limit at all.
I don't think it's ever had any signs telling.
Okay, I'll check into it, but being that we didn't go, it wasn't a full design, full construction project, we wouldn't have changed any of the speeds.
What about the striping? Will ever do that also?
Yes, it'll all be redone, yes, sir. Be restriped, and I'll check on the speed limit
It's looking
signs.
real good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Harley?
I know I'd brought this up before, this committee, and Michael's here, and I'd like to get his opinion. And up there in Delaware County, where the ranch is, where the buffalo are located, that section of road through there, I really like to see that more prioritized. I don't know how the committee feels about it, but I think with all the publicity about us getting buffalo out there, I think you have a lot of people that travel up and down that road. And I think, not speaking for Michael, but I think before that road probably had some lower priority. That's the reason it didn't get done. But now that we have the ranch up there, they have the sawmill up there, and have the buffalo, my question is, can we prioritize that road up to move it up? You know, I think the sooner we get it done, the better off we're gonna be. And I guess it's promoting some of the buffalo stuff, but that's what I wanna do. I wanna get a good road out there for some people to drive up to see what we've got going out there. But my question to Michael is, can we push that up on the priority if this committee says, let's do it?
I think the answer to that is yes. I mean, the council body does approve all the tribal construction priorities for the roads department, ultimately as a recommendation from administration. We, prior to it being recommended to administration, go through a prioritization process internally, and as the criteria changes on projects in various areas, I hear you mention a sawmill. I wasn't aware of a sawmill. If there's a sawmill operation, you know, I don't know if that's something that's brand new. You know, chances are we didn't know about it, and you know, that's stuff that we do need to know about so that we can take that into consideration when we're updating our priorities. So, ultimately, the answer to your original question is yes. This body can make recommendations and make changes to our construction priority list because it ultimately is approved by you guys.
Okay, I'd just like the committee to consider it and think about it, and maybe we'll have more discussion later. But anyway, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You bet, Chief.
That was back in the early 70s about the sawmill.
Thank you for that history
We
lesson.
had a cattle operation, we've had a buffalo operation way before some of you guys were born. But back to Harley's comment, you know, Harley, when you were over roads, was the administration, was that not a priority? Because, and I see where you're going with this, but is it because the buffalo is there that we haven't built and paved that road because it might get too much traffic through there? Well, you want to avoid it that way, because if you get a lot of traffic going through there, because they're right off the side of the road there, you could actually drive by there and just hit the buffalo. You see what I'm saying? That might be the reason, Hart. I don't know.
And that's some good consideration. I agree. You know, I thought about that also. But I don't know. It's just something to think about.
Yeah.
You know, do we want to do it or just leave it, you know, gravel like it is, or? But it's really rough.
I know. I've often wondered why we hadn't had that road.
Well, I think the answer to your other question is back then the sawmill had closed down, and our priorities back then is to serve tribal-owned facilities, and the sawmill was closed down at that time, and that's the reason it didn't have a high priority back when I was the roads director there.
Yeah.
So now it's changed a little bit more because we moved the Bull Hollow office up there, so we have a program up there, and now we have the buffalo, so the priorities have changed now. When I was in the road director, we didn't have, those priorities weren't there. That's the reason.
Okay.
That's the reason I didn't recommend getting it done back then, or otherwise I would have done it. So, anyway.
You might check with well, there's Bruce over there. See how come they've never come to us and say we need that road paved? Because it is something. You've been up that road. I mean, it's always rough to drive that. I won't drive unless I have to. But
I'll check with them.
It's something to think about.
Okay.
I think, Harley, those are good comments. I'd like to know the answer to it myself.
Sure. You bet.
We've got some Cherokees.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Sir. Appreciate you. Next, Anna Knight.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'll keep it short. I thought I was going to have a lot of time to talk, but we're just in the middle of house buying season. We just finished taxes, so that went very well, and we have a little graph on page 2 of our report, and we helped get about $1.3 million back into households here in the Cherokee Nation through the volunteer tax preparation. Also, on the next to the last page, we've started showing you the schedule for our financial education classes that aren't our home buying classes, but we work with We work with the casinos, we work with a lot of other tribal programs, the Head Start programs to teach financial education. So we just started including those in there, so you can take a look at those as well. But otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I was looking at the maps there, mortgage assistance, and Cherokee County, there's like 14, maybe 16 homes there that we've addressed. You would think there would be more in Cherokee County. Is there something I can do to help out with that?
Well, Adair County might have something different to say about that, but no, this is home buying season right now, so this is when it gets really busy, and by the end of the year, because right now we've closed on about 28 maps, and by the end of the year we expect to do 175. So we're doing more and more, and the majority of them we typically have in the Sequoyah County, Cherokee County, and Rogers County area. It's tough in Delaware and Adair County to do the map. They don't have a lot of housing stock to buy, I think.
As long as they're Cherokees or, okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Harley?
And you may have answered this before, Anna, but remind me again. The mortgage assistance program cannot be used with the 184 loan?
Yes, it can be used with the 184 loan. We, I think we looked in over half of our mortgage assistance participants do receive 184
Okay.
loans.
Well, the reason I asked that is on page 2 here, I was just looking at this right here, and it says 78 total, but then you got 63 that was stick-built using 184 loans. Is that total right?
Actually, well, it's 47 with the stick built using 184, and 59 or almost 60 with just the stick built without the 184 though. That chart might be a little bit confusing.
Well, you may be looking at a different chart than me. I'm looking at one that says stick-built home purchased, 75. Stick-built home under construction is 3, then you have a total of 78. But then go back up, it says stick-built home purchased with one HUD 184 financing was 63. So I was saying, well, the total should be more than 78. Is that right?
This,
I must be looking at it wrong.
Yeah, or you're looking at it, actually, you have a more current copy than what I pulled off. Let me go back and look at it and verify
Okay,
that for you.
but 184 does qualify for.
184 does.
Okay, well, that was the question.
Well over
Okay.
half of our clients use the
Okay.
184 product.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am? Go ahead.
I just have a comment, thank you. And I was at the court hall today and had lunch at the Cowie Cafe, which is always wonderful. But I'm pleased to see that new little shop across from this butter gallery is up and running, and it's impressive. It's got-
Gallery store?
Yes, the gallery
great.
store. And the mall itself looks great. It looks like there's a lot going on there, and that's good. Good for us.
Yes, we just filled that last incubator spot with Dina's Art Den. And so, yeah, we're excited. It's taken a little while for it to come together, but it does. Thank you very much. They do a great job down there. I'll pass it on.
They do, yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Old business, none pending, new business.
I'd like to amend the agenda to include 2 resolutions. The first is a resolution authorizing the Bureau of Indian Affairs to revise and update the Cherokee Nation's inventory of tribal transportation facilities. And the second is a resolution supporting the proposed changes to strengthen the Indian Child Welfare Act made by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And I'd like for these to go to full council tonight.
Okay.
If we amend the agenda and they pass.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Pass them over. The second one out.
Second.
Let's take some time, we'll look at this right.
Need any information on, yeah, I can
Okay.
answer any questions on the second one.
If you could give us an overview of what you brought for us.
Bureau of Indian Affairs has made proposed suggestions to changes in the Indian Child Welfare Act from 1978, and I was at the Oklahoma Indian Child Welfare Association quarterly meeting last Friday. I'm a member of that. Some of our ICW staff from the Cherokee Nation was there. They're seeking tribal support, BIA, to do this, and it will be beneficial to our children and our ICW cases that we have, and so we're asking for approval to support or at least just to basically support the proposed changes recommended by the Bureau of Indian Affairs
Thank you.
on the Indian Child Welfare Act.
Jack, you've,
No, we need to vote on amending the agenda.
that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I caught you late. Okay, any discussion on amending that agenda?
Call for question.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Amendment's passed.
I have questions
Yes,
now
ma'am.
about the motion, because we're taking up the motion now,
Yes,
right? So I reviewed the Attorney General's letter, and then I went and found the Bureau of Indian Affairs, like 30 pages of proposed rules. And maybe I just haven't spent enough time with it, but I need, if I'm gonna write an effective letter, I should more than likely, like, actually reference very specific things, and I haven't been able to pull out the very specific things from the 30 pages of BIA Federal Register regs. And I looked at the AG's letter, and I looked at our correspondence, and there's not anything specific. I thought we would have more specific, like, federal reg, this or that. I mean, there's not details, it's very general. Do we not need more details to reference?
Well, this is, instead of you all having to write individual letters, this would just be the majority of the council to provide the support, just to relieve you all from having to write your own letters to do it. And this,
Then I think it's even more important that we have more specifics, because I'm sure they get things, I mean, I know this is an important issue, they probably know what we're talking about, but there's not enough context in terms of the governmental, the way I understand we would do consultation. Especially like in a letter from the AG, it's just generic. Well, email your written comments to comments@bia.gov. Well, there's not a reference to the specifics. The BIA regs, I'm sure, are very thick. I felt like we needed more specific details about what in the federal regs we're referencing or what we're excited about. Because I'm happy to still write a letter even after we pass this, and I'd like add it as a sponsor as well, one of the co-sponsors, but, so is it 25 CFR Part 23 that we're recommending, yes, we approve, or is it other parts?
it's the Indian Child Welfare Act passed in 1978. That's how they reference it. I may have some comments on what some of them are. Let me look up on my computer right quick. If you want to take up that other agenda.
I would like to be added as a co-sponsor to this, please.
To the ICW,
Yes.
I think.
Because that's what we're on right now, correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would hope
And
everybody.
Everybody else, would everybody like to be added? Thank you.
She said, let's come back to this. Is there anything else?
Nope. Yep.
Oh, we got one more. This one here?
Yeah, we do. We're gonna pass these together?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. We're going to,
You got one of the sponsors?
yes,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution authorizing the BIA to revise and update the Cherokee Nation's inventory of tribal transportation facilities. Second. Passed out.
okay. And any
Are we
discussion?
mixing
back to
motions?
yours.
Okay.
No, there was no
Okay.
motion made on the other.
There was no
Yeah.
motion made on that one. We're gonna come back to the question.
And Lee, you have a
Thank you,
question?
Mr. Chair. Let's need to go to full council tonight.
Yes, it will.
Yes.
And Frankie's so stated, I believe. Okay. Any questions on the Bureau of Indian Affairs Roads, Transportation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's stop it. Yes,
I didn't think it was appropriate to yell out, so I tried to get up my hand.
Okay,
So
sure.
I guess we do routinely, more than once a year, go back to, or we're still going back to our county commissioners, right, and asking them for roads inventory for all 14 counties. I saw Rogers County on there, so, but I want to make sure everyone's included, not
Yes,
just.
we do work with the circuit engineering districts for all of the counties that are represented, that we represent, 14 counties. So we do take those recommendations at those meetings, and we're in constant contact with those county commissioners.
So if our county commissioner were to ask our constituent, it would be the county commissioners and the circuit engineers.
That's usually the avenue that we use, but they could certainly call us directly outside of the circuit engineering district meetings.
Okay, and those are the ones that I've been to, there are ones, the quarterly that they're rotated around?
One of them's rotated around, yes, they're monthly, but they're rotated around, yes.
Okay.
Muskokee's is always in Muskogee, but the others are rotated around.
Okay, very good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, if I could make just a real brief comment, these changes that are, this resolution's been passed once by this body back in March. The changes that, have been recommended by the Bureau are what I would call impact and substantive. They are more of administrative changes. The roads list themselves hasn't changed. We're still adding the same roads we had back in March as we are today. It's just the construction need changed from a 1 to a 2, and the functional classification, which the Federal Highway Administration functional classification changed on just 1, 2, 4 or 5 different road projects. So this is more of an administrative correction than it is anything else. And after discussion with the Secretary of State, we decided it'd be best to come back to the body for a revised or a brand new resolution.
And thank you. Lee, did you have a question, or did that help you?
Yeah, that was my question. I was confused, but has there been thank you for that, Mike. Has there been a motion for this to, up on the floor, as we're discussing that? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No?
And we already voted.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was confusing too.
Now,
So,
so make a motion on the resolution supporting the proposed changes to strengthen the Indian Child Welfare Act made by the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
We determine the sections that are relevant that we need to highlight, or could we make maybe some stronger suggestions about the state must adhere? We talk, all states must adhere. I mean, we just got it, so I couldn't comment before this.
There's been a comparison between the current and the, others. I'm trying to look it up on my computer, see if I have it so I can list it. But the main thing, a main issue that is occurring in ICW cases is a lot of times the notice to tribes and the notice to the proper people in child welfare cases is not happening. And it is causing lack of the tribal families to be able to still have what they need in ICW in their cases of children. But I will look up this other comparisons of what is the current, what are the changes. So I'm looking for it right now. But there is a deadline to submit support letters or resolutions or whatever, and so that's why I requested that we go ahead and get this done today and then tonight, so it will happen.
I wonder, when's the deadline, Diane?
I think it's the
19th of May, isn't it?
I think it's the 19th next week. And I did have the Attorney General Kimbry and Assistant Attorney General Chrissy Nemo and Assistant Attorney General Sarah Hill to help draft this. And so they had the input for this as well.
What does the body say?
So, Mr. Chair, may I
Yes,
continue?
yes, ma'am.
So if you read the Federal Register, this is off the cuff, so I don't know if I have subsection 23 or whatever. It's not dealing with the entire Indian Child Welfare Act. I think it's good we make a broad statement that we ask all states to comply with federal regulations and make sure to reinforce the importance of our culture and language, that our kids are our future, the basis for ICW. But I think there are very important things that are being highlighted, that are being recommended, that we need to reiterate in order to really make this effective. If this is going to be the letter that we send as a council body, I was looking for more meat. So, you know, there's the parts about, they don't necessarily want to comply if they don't think kids are Indian enough. There's the blood quantum issues. There's whether or not they have to give us notice. Transferring cases, time limits, emergency removals. I'm not saying we have to highlight every one of these because there's multiple pages, but I would think we would give it a little bit more and at least make broader statements that we are asking each and every state to comply with this act.
Each and every state?
Yeah, the problem is states aren't randomly deciding not to comply with the federal act. That's part of the reason why we're here. So the way I understand it is the BIA is making federal regs that explicitly then say the states have to comply, which I never thought would be an issue until these last few years.
Yeah, this first
I
time
mean,
BIA.
it's been, but
Yeah, this will be the first time BIA's ever even come up with insinuating they want to make the state courts binding for the first time. My question is, can we say that about other states, or we just need to keep it Oklahoma, I guess is my comment.
we have children all over, and North Carolina was
I'm
part of
aware
our
of that,
problem on Veronica.
Diane, have we talked to other tribes about this? I mean, everybody's on board. I know you want tribal input.
At the Oklahoma Indian Child Welfare Association quarterly meeting last Friday, Chickasaw Nation, there was probably at least 20 tribes represented at the meeting, and all of them are supporting this BIA proposed changes to the ICWA Act.
And Diane, if we pass this resolution, which I think we will, because we all want to support this, will you be writing a letter that we can give you suggestions, or that you will let us see that?
I would be happy to write a letter if you want
addressing the changes?
Mm-hmm. I can, I'm looking for it right now, and I can send that out and give you more discussion about it. But to get the basic support to make sure it gets there in time for next week, that's what we need to do. And then if you all want to do specific letters, there is a website that you posted specifically. It's not a BIA website. I forget what the name of it is, but I can send that out to everyone so that you will have that.
There's one that's comments at BIA.gov.
There is one, but to send the supports, it starts with an R. I'm trying to think. I was hoping Lou Stretch from ICW for our Child Welfare Department will be here, because she's the president of the Oklahoma Indian Child Welfare Act, and she would be able to give you a little bit more information, but she had another meeting, so she wasn't able to present this. Regulations.gov, that's it. That's what you have to post it, rather than going to the BIA website, regulations.gov. Thank you.
And one comment or frame of mind I'm hearing here is that it says Bureau of Indian Affairs has proposed regulations. And so what are those, and how, and should we adapt those regulations into this paper?
I don't think you would have to do it into the resolution, but if you want to specifically address it in any letters you want to individually send to regulations.gov, you could do that. And I can send all that out, and I will do my best. There was a group at the Oklahoma City University, and a person there put down a list of what the current ICW says and what the changes are, addresses it, and I'm looking for it right now so I can send it out to all of you so you will all have that if you want to write specific letters.
One thing I'd like to say is that this is good, it's better than nothing, but it's not as specific as some folks would like to have it.
Right.
And I'm not legally trained, so there's a lot of things that I don't know how to put in here. But this looks a little watered down to me.
It's a little different than what I put
I know.
together, and I asked for the Attorney General's office, and of course, Chrissy Nemo and Sarah Hill are quite active in, and we do have another case that we lost the appeal on a Cherokee child, and so I think some of the regulations that are changed by the Bureau of Indian Affairs would help address that particular issue, and possibly also the baby Veronica issue for future cases. And so I think but with those three individuals giving me the final version, that's what is passed out to all.
Well, I hate to be taking up another counselor's time here, another chairperson's time, but this is important, and I think Ms. Watts had another comment, and I see another gentleman in the room. Could you come and perhaps help us a little bit? Ms. Watts, you want to make your comments?
Yeah, so my point is, like, when I'm looking through the Federal Registry, it's 25 CFR 23. That's never mentioned in the letter or any of our email correspondence. There is a specific website, which is not what we were given, and that should have been easy for us to access. Like, it should have been in the body of the email and given to us to help translate what we need to do to make sure, because otherwise you get lost in all this. And it says in the federal regs that the rule is listed under agency name, Bureau of Indian Affairs, or BIA. You have to know that. And it's been assigned docket ID BIA-2015-0001. So, and then if you email, you're supposed to include ICWA in the subject line of the message. And none of that was given to us. And that should have been, the staff should have translated that out and handed that to us. Somebody should. And I just like, I want to make sure this resolution is effective when it goes out. So we need to include these things, I would think, even if it's by tonight. The federal regs they need to go back to it and include some of this stuff. And this is not rocket science, right?
You want a strong word in this resolution.
That's stronger words.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Chad Harsha from the Attorney General's office.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
Harsha.
Okay, thank you. Nice
My
to meet you.
understanding of this letter is just a letter of general support for the changes into the equal reform. It hasn't been changed for some time, and there's been a wholesale change, partly a result of the baby Veronica litigation that happened some time back. So this letter written from the AG's office points out some things in general terms, but it's overall just a pledge of support for the changes as a whole. Now, from the Attorney General's office, we have planned, and I think we've already put together highly technical responses to certain provisions of the Act that we think would be more favorable to Indian tribes in general. But this letter is just an overall letter of support from tribal governments, which most tribes in Oklahoma, if not all, have done a similar statement, and it's because the time frame for when response or whenever we have to respond is very short. We've asked for an extension, and I believe that we'll probably get that extension. But this is just an overall letter of support for the changes of the equal reform.
Now,
And
this is not a letter, it's a resolution.
A resolution, yes.
You do not think it needs to be in a stronger terms, stronger language, referencing the BIA statement?
I think that there are provisions there are responses that we are making. I mean, this happens very quickly, but there are responses that we are making for highly technical provisions that we think need to be changed. But this is just a resolution offering support for the changes as they are.
Any more comment from the body? Yes, ma'am.
So is this resolutions, our passing this would be saying that we go along with whatever you guys come up with after the fact?
It would be saying in the sense that the changes that have been proposed to ICWA is a positive thing that we've been waiting for a long time. And as a tribal government, we support the reformation of the ICWA guidelines to be more consistent with what's beneficial for tribal governments. And also at this time, there's certain state level courts that are speaking out against the proposed regs. as far as their application to the state of Oklahoma. That doesn't mean that, doesn't make a difference, but it is just a tone that's being taken by some, aspects of the state government. So this resolution is just to overall support the changes to ICWA.
Any other comments? Ms. Watts?
I'd like to propose the following amendments. And if you want, we'll just take them one at a time, so there's no. So, let's see. Let me find the regs. So in the title, and then thus it would have to be, in the be it resolved statement so that the BIA would actually know what we're referencing. Would have to be the language in the federal regs they ask in the comments. So grammatically or the proper English, I'm not for sure exactly how we would, I guess maybe it just brackets. But we could bracket BIA, all caps, -2015-001 in both the title and the be it resolved. Somehow I think we need to reference this
If
so they actually know.
If I could ask the gentleman from the AG's office, if he hears something that is problematic, please speak out. So if you hear on these changes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I make a motion that we add that so that there's a reference to it, so they know what we're speaking to.
I don't know what you're talking about. What is BIA 2015?
In the federal regs, which address these issues, it says that the comments, when you put it on that regulations.gov, there's two references. It provides docket ID, and this is Federal Register Volume 80, number 54, Friday, March 20th, 2015, proposed rules, page 14,880, third column top. The only other reference it provides is just ICWA, ICWA.
And add that to this resolution?
Yes, so, and actually, probably, if we combine it, it would be ICWA, ICWA, space BIA-2015-0001.
Where would that be?
I don't know if we need to reference it in both the title and the be it resolved, but I think it needs to be referenced so they actually know what it's in reference to.
And this says comments can be submitted by any of the following methods: by email to comments@bia.gov. But basically what was told us in our meeting at the OICWA conference, it was to be submitted at the www.regulations.gov, and it was to reference the BIA proposed changes to the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. That's what we were told.
I don't have anything from that. All I have is what's written in the Federal Registry, which was what I would think they would go back to, so.
And I'm just telling you what was given, what information was given to us, and it was by a group that is helping to host with BIA. There's going to be a meeting on Thursday that this group is hosting, and then there will be a meeting Thursday in Tulsa, a public meeting and a tribal session to discuss
And I never
this.
got a response on my email. Are we as tribal council representatives all included in the tribal leaders session in the morning, or are we excluded? All I knew about was the public meeting per the email, but when I went to the federal regs, I saw that in the morning there's tribal representatives.
There's a tribal session.
I haven't seen it.
I replied all to every council member so they would all know, so.
The tribal consultation session are for representatives of current federally recognized tribes, only to discuss the rule on a government-to-government basis with the department, and they are closed to the public. And then the public meeting is for anyone who wants to attend for that.
Chad.
I withdraw. There's no point in this, I guess.
And-
So thank
and-
you for your time today,
And
Mr. Cherokee.
I understand, I appreciate it, and thanks to attorneys for trying to steer us in the right direction. We want to do this, but it sounded a little watered down to me even. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I just have just a sentence structure proposal here. This last line of this, made by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I wondered if that could be moved up to follow the proposed changes. Because otherwise, it sounds like the Indian Child Welfare Act was made by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And I think what we want to say is a resolution supporting the proposed changes made by the Bureau of Indian Affairs to strengthen the Indian Child Welfare Act. That would be a more clear sentence structure.
You'll have to write it down and tell me.
You
what
just
you
take
want.
that last line, just flip the last two.
Switch the last, yeah.
Switch the last two lines.
Okay. Shelley, did you get it written down? Okay.
And so you
Thank you,
accept,
Diane.
and does the second accept?
I didn't write the following thing, so the
Okay.
AG's office did that, so.
Okay.
We have, I think, an amendment that's been accepted, so do we have to go through a vote on that?
The change?
The change? Jack?
I'll accept it.
Okay. And
So now we just vote on this.
so, and now we're down to the vote on the resolution itself. Any more, yes, sir.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment too, since we're changing that, could we add the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, add of 1978?
It's in the final resolution down at the bottom.
I know, but it's not in the heading. That's what they're gonna see first.
The heading? And it's been accepted. Okay. Anything else? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Resolution passes. No new business. Any announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate it. No announcements. Next meeting is Monday, June 15th, 2 p.m.
30-minute break?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Anybody like to?